Look at that storm. That is wild. Sissy, it's gonna rain, girl. How is it going, boys and girls? Welcome back to Key West Waterman. My name is Aaron Young. Storm is rolling in. Today's episode is going to be a little different. Going to be more of a recap style. Just had our good friends James and Lisa in town for a few days, and I really just wanted to unplug and enjoy the time with them. But I did do some underwater filming, so we're going to kind of do like a recap style episode, and it's mainly going to be cooking. But I did shoot a really nice grouper, the third biggest black grouper I've ever actually harvested. So I've got some underwater footage, and we make a really amazing chowder with it. And we had a spectacular few days. Like I said, didn't really want to film the entire time, just kind of wanted to unplug. But this particular day was just oil flat calm, just sunny, no wind. It was crystal clear water, just everything you could ever ask for. Started the morning, Lisa hopped in the water, very first drop. She shot a 32-pound African pompano, which is the third biggest African pompano I've ever had in the boat. So we knew it was going to be a spectacular day. But again, this video is going to be a little bit different style. We're going to cut to some of that stuff, and then we'll cut to the grouper dives. It was really cool, and hope you guys enjoy it. First drop of the day, baby.
Yeah.
It's a beauty. It's a big one.
Diamond fish.
Whoo! It's bigger than I thought.
That thing's 30 all day.
That fish is over 20. Welcome back underwater, everybody. Appreciate you tuning in. You could see, if you watch that clip zoomed in a bit, you could see this massive grouper just swimming around out in the open. It goes under this ledge. To catch you up to speed, Gavin's doing a drop right now to check it out, but we had hit this spot earlier in the morning, and the current was ripping, and they saw two black grouper here, and they're not sure if this was the same fish or not. By the way, that's a Goliath grouper swimming out behind him, but they saw a fish, and Gavin said it was well over 20, but he wasn't sure if this was the same fish or not. The water actually cleared up a little bit, and the tide died, so it made the diving easier. So we went back, and we wanted to see if we could locate those fish, and we jumped in, and that fish just happened to be swimming around out in the open. It was a sight to see.
Did he bolt?
Is that the same fish?
Oh, yeah.
That fish is big.
Big.
That fish is not 20.
I know. He's big.
Lisa, do you want to come wrap around this corner and poke your head? That may be a women's world record fish. I think that fish is 30. So when they first saw this fish in the morning, I was actually driving the boat and I didn't get a look at it, and there was some debate on how big they thought the fish actually was. And it can be really difficult to tell until you get down to the fish's level when it's this clear. I mean, the bottom I think was 50, 55, and crystal clear. It's really hard to judge the size of a fish. So I was asking Lisa if she wanted to take a whack at shooting it, because the women's world record, I believe, is only 27, 28 pounds. And she said she was worried about messing it up. She'd rather us just have the fish in the boat. So we're just hanging out now, trying to catch our breaths. It can be very difficult to calm down and get a good breath when you've seen a fish like that. And I want to keep my eyes open, because that fish was very social. It was out and about. It wasn't really rocking up and hiding. So I wanted to keep my eyes open. And as I'm breathing up, I'm noticing the camera's not going to pick it up. I kept seeing the peck fin, or just the tip of the tail, on the edge of this ledge. This fish was working towards the top of the screen, towards that point. So I kept seeing it, and I was slowly following it up. I had a feeling that point was its kind of home, or its corner. A lot of times they'll sit on the current side of a ledge or a rock. And if you look closely, you'll see this fish crosses over the sand between those two little, I guess, edges right there. It almost makes a V, and he cut back in, and just get your heart going. You realize how big this fish is. And again, it's really hard to tell from the surface. I could see the paintbrush tips on the pecks and the tail, but this fish is 50, 55 feet away from me. It's hard to get a judge on how big it actually is. So I'm doing everything in my power just to remain calm. And I look back, I assumed they saw the fish like I did, and they didn't. And instead of going back and reassessing, sometimes you just got to go. I know that fish came around this corner, and I know it's going to park it under the ledge just from experience. It seemed that this fish gravitated around this point, so sometimes you got to go where you're going to lose your opportunity. So I decided to drop. I'm going to kind of hang back on the top side of the ledge until I come around that edge real slow. And I look over the corner, I see its pec fin and its face, and I do not hesitate. I'm not going to go for a stone shot. I just want to get a holding shot. And right there, I realized how big the fish was. And you can hear that line squeaking a bit. And what I'm doing is, I knew how big the fish was. I was concerned that it was going to break the flopper or pop something. So I put just enough tension on it. I'm not familiar with this hole. I don't know how far back it goes. I put just enough tension on it that I felt comfortable that I stopped the fish from going farther into the hole. A fish this size, if it gets 10, 15 feet back in a ledge, you're going to have a very difficult time trying to pull it out. So I just was pretty much doing damage control at that point.
$20 miles.
Big one? He swam up there?
He's 35, 40.
He's out there?
Yeah. I watched him. I hit him square in the head, but that's a flopper breaker. That's a big fish.
I didn't even see him come up north.
I saw, all I kept seeing was his pec fin and the tip of his tail. I followed him all the way up. I put it right in the side of his head, but I don't know if the flopper's gonna hold. It's not 20 pounds. This thing's like 35. Yeah, no, he looks like he's 40.
So at this point, like I said, I got on the fish's level. I could tell how big it was. We know that this fish potentially could break some gear and we could lose it. So the fish is not secure. I did hit it, put a good shot in it, but the fight is not over. So right now, doing everything in my power to just try to remain calm. I talk about this. The retrieval is one of the hardest dives you can make. You're amped up, your heart's racing, you're excited about what might happen, just getting the fish.
So you saw him on this outside point?
Where you got him, where you line? No, it's to the left, all the way to the left.
Oh, okay.
A fish like this, you have to work together. One person does shoot it, but typically, anytime I've shot a fish this size, it's a team fish. So Gavin did a drop. We moved the boat in front of the spot real quick just so we could have a better breathe up. We could hold on to something, not fight the current, the little bit of current there was. So Gavin actually did the drop, kind of assessed the situation. You could hear him. He was reporting back to me where it was that he saw the fish.
Wait, left if I'm facing forward or left if I'm facing the rock?
If you're going down, you go over the ledge, to your left.
Okay, but facing the way we're facing now.
Yes.
So I've gathered my information, and it may seem like it's common knowledge, not common knowledge, it may seem common sense, like I shot the fish, I should know where it is, but during all that thrashing and all that, there's no telling. The fish could have gone a lot farther than I thought. He could have gone to the right under a ledge and poked out the other side. These fish have these caves figured out, and they hang there for certain reasons. So it can be tricky, and like I said, we work together. Me and Gavin have been diving together so long. For the most part, other than that type of stuff, we don't really have to communicate. Like, I know what he should be doing, he knows what I should be doing. So I've got where I think the fish is going to be. And it's funny, I actually assumed he meant to the left of this little point, the little nugget that sticks off, but you'll hear I'm dropping and you'll hear him grunt at me, and it lets me know that I'm going to the wrong spot. But this is just how long we've been diving together. So you could hear his grunt there, and that lets me know I'm going the wrong way. So I pass back around to the side that I shot the fish on, and I poke my head up in here. And I had planned on putting a second shot in it, but I see that the fish is upside down. The fish is strung, meaning that it's on the line instead of like up against the flopper. And the flopper didn't break, so I decided I'm just going to try to pull it out. And I actually got it quite a ways out. You can't tell because all the mud kicks up, but I got the fish almost all the way out. And I'm going to try to clear the line, and I realize the line is way more wrapped than I thought it was. So I'm gonna go back up, catch my breath, no reason to push it. And this is just a sign of how long Gavin and I have been diving together. You'll see he realizes that I got the fish almost out, so he's gonna drop immediately and try and secure it.
Ah, that's a nice fish.
He's big. He should come out next one.
So Gavin's already down there. You can see real quick he made a shot, put a second shot in that fish, and he actually stoned it, which is good. Love to dispatch him as soon as we can. And same thing, he was trying to get it out, put the second shot in it, but the line was pretty wrapped. So he had worked on it a little bit, got some of it unraveled, but unfortunately couldn't get it in one swoop. You can see the fish down there. Successfully dispatched and had a secured second shot in it. And that is teamwork. So for the most part now, pressure's off, but I still want to get down there and get the fish in my hands. There are predators around. The fish is bleeding. It's been speared. But for the most part, this is the easy part. I know the fish has been dispatched successfully. Gavin put a shot in the brain. So just kind of get down there and handle some logistics, getting it untangled and whatnot. And if you've ever been part of harvesting a fish like this, I know there is a shooter, and you could say technically it's their fish, but anytime I've harvested a fish this big, it's always a team fish. Without your buddies there to spot you, without the second shots, the communication, finding the fish, relocating it, all that, these are always a team fish. Got a little snag there. James always getting some good shots. He had his big camera with him. Just such a treat to be able to harvest a fish like this with some of your best friends. This is the third biggest black grouper I've ever speared. It went just over, I think it was 42 pounds. So grateful.
That is a juicy one. Whoa.
Oh, yeah. Good stuff.
Thank you, thank you.
There.
What a fish. Thank you, Gavin, for the assist.
And a huge thanks to my good friend James for always being there to capture these moments with his camera. Photos I will be able to keep with me forever. And if you're interested in getting some artwork, he literally travels the planet and just captures unbelievable moments underwater. I will put a link to his Instagram. You can check out some of his other work and send him a message if you'd like to order any prints.
Big one. Not a bad one. I'm guessing probably high 30s, if not very close to 40.
Very nice fish. Very, very grateful. Just an absolute beauty. Look at that paintbrush. Beautiful, beautiful fish. Gonna feed a ton of people. Just unbelievable.
Black grouper.
Not a soul in sight.
Dang, that was sick.
Come on over here.
Man, that's a crappy shot, babe.
Thanks, babe.
Did you stone it?
No,
Oh.
I certainly did not. All right, so here's our grouper. If I'm in frame here. This is our grouper. What a magnificent fish. Such a blessing to be able to harvest something like this. I don't get to shoot them this big very often. They're difficult. They're such an amazing, powerful fish. They're elusive, they're fast, they're tricky, they're camouflage. Something about them is very special. When I shoot a fish this big, I do get some negative feedback, and I understand. I have no problem with it. I totally understand. A lot of times the big ones are the breeders, but just to give you an idea, I've been actively deep free dive spearfishing for 15 years, probably, maybe a little more. This is the third biggest grouper I've ever speared in Key West. So it's not every day. We don't take the big ones very often, but we are going to break it down. I'm going to move the camera a bit so you can have a little better view of it. We are going to break it down. What I'm going to do is take the fillets off and send those home with James and Lisa, and then we're going to make some delicious stuff with everything that's left: the rack, the ribs, the collar, the head, the cheeks, everything. So we're going to use this entire fish and honor it, and let's get started. All right, we're going to break this down all the way. Big, beautiful fish. Whoop. Oh, not when I fillet every day, so bear with me. I know they get a lot of these big ones in the Bahamas, and like I said, this is my third biggest ever. But just to give you an idea, I ran charters for 8 years in Key West, 7, 8 years, and this is the fourth biggest I've ever had on my boat. This is not an everyday fish free dive. So I start with that serrated, go through the ribs, and I'm going to work just straight back to the spine. Just like any other fish, it just takes a little longer on this guy. All right, so Will's going to give me a hand with this. There's like he just mentioned, there's a lot going on here that you probably can't see. So I think the bigger the fish, the harder to fillet, in my opinion. You need a knife that goes through, and once you're in there, you're having to just feel the knife. Alright, so straight through to the backbone. And I'll lift that tail up and cut this across. Alright. I'll flip this over. All the way to the backbone there. Almost all the way across. You can hear it. Hear it. That's how I know I hit them, because they're rhythmic. I like the serrated. And then I'm going to work straight across the spine. Because I want the ribs out of this thing. Should be a pound and a half of them at least. Oop, I missed that a little bit. Look at that fillet, holy moly.
Hold on, hold that up and by your...
Look at, so...
Hold it up just by your side. It's the size of your torso.
I mean...
That's not really saying much.
Thanks, baby.
Just kidding.
I mean,
Wow.
that's like 8 pounds, 9 pounds, just one side.
Oh my
For
God.
just me. Probably more than that, actually. And then look at the size. So what makes a fish delicious, I think, is the flakes and the style of flakes. But like, look at the flake. That's the flake right there, the line. That's one flake.
Wow.
One flake. Just what a beautiful.
Ooh, I want
Beautiful
a grouper.
fillet.
I want one of the grouper cheeks.
Do you?
Yeah.
Those are a premium.
Gina, what are you doing? That's the snake's house.
All right, so I do want the ribs. I want everything. We're gonna give, I know, flies. We're all animals. It's not ideal, but part of it. Tipsy, you're like right in the perfect spot to get grouper smooge on your head. So I want these ribs. The ribs are going to be amazing. We're going to eat this entire fish. I'm going to take those ribs off first. I need a leaf blower. Look at that.
Those ribs, holy crap.
Yeah.
If you need a good rib recipe, I know a guy.
I know a guy too. Look at that. It's just hard to beat. So I'm gonna, you know what it looks like. I'm just gonna skin that, but I want to break the rest of the fish down. All right. Whoa. This guy just had a meal. Almost feels like a file fish. All right. If you don't like to see stomach contents, maybe fast forward it or close your eyes, or tell the person you're watching to let you know when it's done. A lot of people like to see this, and I like to know. I want to know what they're eating as a fisherman. What is the grouper eating? It's a file fish. I knew it. I could feel it. Isn't that crazy? Like, how did he get a hold of a file fish? That is wild. Give it to the canal critters. All right, so we're gonna use this entire fish. So we're gonna take first. Whew. Back is tight.
You're gonna need more than that, I think. Oh, there you go.
Just gotta hit it with the right spot. It's time for a new serrated, I think. If you work at Dexter, call me. All right, so rack. Oh, hello, Miss Tipsy. Would you like a little piece? Here, Tipsy, I got you, Mama. All right, so now we're gonna take the collar off. Little hinge right there. See, it meets. Go up over the hinge, or under it, and up over the bottom one. Watch your fingers. Let's pull this off. All right, so there's our collar. Like, look at this. Just a hunk of meat. I mean, that's a couple pounds. Whew. All right, so we've got our collar, head. We're gonna pull those cheeks out also.
So this is something that's crazy to me. Would you ever guess that the heart was that small?
No.
And a fish that big.
size. Isn't that wild? That is the heart right there.
That's crazy.
That's crazy. Actually, if you don't mind real quick, we're gonna take a cheek out. So we've got our collar, throat, depending on where you're at, head, we're gonna use this. We're gonna use the whole fish. We got the fillet in there, the ribs in there, but the cheek, if you're not familiar, you've never seen this, the cheek is the filet mignon, or the wagyu of the grouper. You just kind of got to work around down at like a 45. These make great sliders. It's actually become a thing at a lot of restaurants. They do fried grouper cheeks now. I mean, look at the amount of meat in there. You never know that was there. So once you get it off, you can almost just peel it. Oh.
That's a burger.
That's not a slider. That's a burger.
That's a straight up burger. Yeah, that is not a slider, my friend.
Wow.
That's pretty much the fillet I get off the mangroves I shoot.
Look at that. All right, so we've broken this thing completely down. Next, I'm gonna see you in the kitchen. We're gonna do a ton of cooking, but we're gonna consume this entire fish. What an awesome process. All righty, we are in the kitchen. This is probably gonna be more of a cooking episode than it is diving. I got a bit of footage of that grouper and a couple of other things I may throw in there, but what I'm gonna make an attempt at today is New England chowder, right? The white? Yeah. White is New England chowder. I've never made the white chowder. I've made red chowder, but we're gonna try and use the grouper scraps to do so. And laying this out, I'm fully realizing I'm gonna have way too much meat for the chowder with just these two parts, so we're gonna save the collar for something else. This is the collar or the neck of the fish, but these are the rib cuts. I mean, that's 1.5 pounds of meat, right? That's like, these are ridiculous. So we're gonna pull the meat off of these. But first things first, we're gonna make a stock. So right here I have the grouper head with some water coming up to a boil. I had to cut this down to try to get it to fit. I couldn't find my really big pot, but we were gonna make the stock first and we'll get started. I'll show you what's going in here. All right, so that's coming up to a boil. In our pot, we're gonna add celery, well, carrots first, that's what I grabbed. Got carrots, some celery, 1 white onion, and some garlic, and a few bay leaves. So I've never done this. Will, the guy I just showed you, if you're not familiar, Cooking with Clams is his YouTube channel. He made a little bit of salt. He made a, what was it, a spider crab chowder, and then the first one was cod?
Yeah, cod scraps, and then a spider, well, yeah, not the spider crab we have here.
So different spider crab. Anyways, he made a chowder, and I'm kind of pulling off of his recipe here. It pretty much is the same thing. I'm gonna change some very minor details. Not even really worth mentioning the differences, but yeah, so that's where I'm getting this from. And we don't really write recipes down. You kind of cook by what you have, and you eyeball stuff and taste it. And I know a lot of you guys ask for it. I get a lot of messages, hey, send me that recipe. Well, I made a video, watch the video, and you should be able to figure it out. But that's our stock. Like I said, carrots, celery, garlic, onions, water, grouper head, bay leaves, and salt. And we're gonna simmer that. This guy's so big, I'm gonna have to simmer it in half and then flip it, and so I can get all the fat and the goodness out of that grouper head. But probably an hour and a half-ish. We'll just kind of watch it. And we're gonna get the meat picked off of these other ones while we're waiting. So what we're gonna do next is we're gonna pull all the meat off of these cuts. So I've got the ribs, and like I said, we have way too much for the chowder. If I used all of it, we'll save some of it for something else. But I've got the 2 rib cuts, and I do have the what I call the rack. And how I'm gonna do this, there's a couple ways you could do it. I'm gonna try to avoid overcooking the fish, so when I throw it in the chowder, it's not dried out and you know, tough and all that. So I'm gonna steam them just lightly, and we're gonna pull it off that way. Just a little bit of salt. We're gonna go in here. I can't imagine this is gonna take more than 3 or 4 minutes, probably not even that. And I don't wanna cook it all the way through. I wanna cook it just enough where I can peel some of that silver skin off and then pull the bones out. Looks good. That was just probably 3 minutes, 4 minutes. So this guy was so big, I'm gonna have to cut this down into pieces to fit it in the steamer. You could go out and throw it on the grill in one whack. I'm gonna have to take this down into sections. Yeah, this would be a lot more effective if you threw it on the grill in one go and peeled it off, but I'm gonna do it like that. I'll cut it into sections. You can see how much meat is still on there. I know it's not very appetizing looking, but drip some of that out. But once it goes in a thick, creamy chowder, it'll be good. So I am gonna keep picking and cooking and getting all this meat off these ribs and rack. This is gonna be a long, boring process, so the gist of it is I pull that silver, what'd you call it, Will? Sinew?
Sinew or silver skin?
Sinew or silver skin. I'm gonna pull that off. And that comes right off the ribs. You can see I underdid them just a little bit. That way when I do throw this back in the chowder, it'll finish it and it won't be, so you can see that pretty good. It won't be overdone. But just make sure you get all the bones out. This is the ribs. That skin should just peel right off. Oop, I just threw it in the wrong thing. Threw a big old glob of skin in there. Look at that, that's all meat. That's all rib meat. It's beautiful. Just kind of break it up. Ooh. Almost pulled a Will, left a sneaker bone in there. Little.
Well, then you're doing it wrong. If
Little-
you take all the bones out,
Little roulette.
you got to keep your guests excited, on their toes.
Yeah. Here's that. Just to show you how much comes off of it. Here's that little section of the rack. Just so much meat left on there. Oh-tee-do-tee. It has been probably an hour and a half Bring it a little closer so you can see this. Our stock. I wish you could smell it. Holy moly. Stock is done. This part's boring. Essentially all I'm gonna do, got a couple of bowls, a strainer. I'm gonna pull the big bits out, put them over here, and I'm gonna ladle the stock through the strainer and make sure I don't get any scales or anything in there. So separating it, and then we're gonna start our chowder. When it comes to making stock, I have not found anything that beats black grouper. Like a black grouper head, there's just, it's unmatched. The amount of natural fats you get out of these things. So even the head, we cut the collar and everything off the cheeks out. You can still see, you can pick quite a bit of meat off of that. Beautiful.
And because
it's like a fillet.
It's not dried out. Any other fish, like a snapper,
yeah,
that would be garbage.
All right, so we're gonna get started. Please keep in mind, I've never done this. Kind of ballparking it. Will's helping me out. I'm sure there are some traditionalists out there that have some thoughts they'd like to share, and that's fine. Love learning. That's why I'm doing this. So what we have, I have one russet potato, baking potato, chopped, some carrots, celery. We don't use measurements, we just kind of ballpark it, what we have. If I need more, I'll add more. Got cornstarch flour, half and half, a little bit of parsley, and this is that's our picked fish. Look at that. I mean, it's like 3.5 pounds, 4 pounds of.
That's what I was saying before. It's gonna be a $300 soup.
Yeah, like it's insane. That's not a small bowl.
Yeah.
Just to give you an idea, a lot of that. Got our stock, and our pot is coming up, so we're gonna get started. I'm gonna hang this up in a sec, but first we're gonna throw some butter in there. Kerrygold, you already know that. A little bit of butter. That's celery. Some carrot. Some onion. All right, so we're gonna just cook these down a bit. Again, don't have measurements on this. I personally just like a really hearty, chunky soup of any sort, especially a chowder. A little bit of salt. Add our potatoes. A little bit of pepper. A little more salt. I'm gonna do some dried thyme. So we're gonna add our stock. I don't know how much that was. It was that much stock. So up to a boil, and then we're gonna bring it down to a simmer. Let those veggies cook through. 20 minutes of simmer. Quick wardrobe change. Had to take a shower. I was had a long day. We'll leave it at that. But we let that simmer 20 minutes. Got our fish ready to go in. We're gonna make, what do you call this?
A slurry.
Slurry. I've never done this, so this is the part that I'm not really familiar with, trying to thicken this up. You need flour, cornstarch, half and half.
So yeah, you might get some traditionalists out there that say, no, it has to be a roux that you start with, and yes, that is the traditional way.
We don't do rules.
Yeah, this is...
Is that too much?
No. That is
cornstarch.
Big pot. That's a big bowl of,
Yeah.
of soup. So, no.
So heaping tablespoon of cornstarch. And I know some of you get frustrated. A lot of you guys send me messages. Hey, send me the recipe. Well, it depends on how much stock you have, how big the grouper head was, how big your potatoes are. Like, there's a lot of variables. And I think I'm not a chef by any means, but I think it's important to be able to adapt to what you have and just kind of cook with a little bit of instinct and kind of learn. If it's not thick enough, add more. If it doesn't have enough veggies, add more. I'm gonna do about 3/4-ish cup of flour. And this is gonna be to thicken up that chowder. And just in case you're wondering, it smells unbelievable. Not this, the chowder. The helpful wandering hand.
Yeah. A little different.
Madeline's at a book club right now, so she hasn't been sticking her fingers in the food yet. Just whisk this slowly, try and get all the lumps out, I assume.
Yeah. Yeah, you want that to be pourable.
Okay. So side note, and a little fun fact about me that you may not know. Not really a sports person, per se, but I do like hockey. My dad's side of the family is actually from Canada. And Madeline's at the book club, so me and Will are having boys' night. The Rangers and the Panthers are playing tonight. Lightning's my team, but there's a Florida team in it. Gotta go for Florida. Big hockey fan. So we're having a couple beers, making some chowder.
Yeah, pretty perfect.
Gonna watch some hockey. A little more.
Yeah, and you could, after you boil that and get it to the thickness you want, obviously you can add more cream. You could add cream to your bowl.
Okay. Now, do I add this when this is boiling or cool?
Yes.
So I bring it back up to a boil.
Bring it back up to a boil.
So we're gonna bring this back up to a boil. Got our slurry. We're gonna mix that in. Alrighty. We are back to a boil. We're gonna add just a little bit at a time. Just so we don't cool this off too much. And I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I always have to be. We added more potatoes. Just felt that I needed more potatoes. So we're gonna add our fish.
Oh, you're in the splash zone.
Oh, dude, I'm going slow. This ain't my first time.
I think it is your first time.
Ooh, look at all the moisture that came out of that fish that I dropped out. So that was all ribs and rack. Like that's it's like 4 pounds of fish.
Yeah.
Now the bowl's almost full again.
Yeah, I turn your heat off.
Yep, and we're gonna
that's it.
We're gonna let everyone be friendly in there for just a couple minutes, cool down. We got some chowder. Oh no.
What happened?
My face.
Hold on, this is a weird angle. I don't think we've done this.
stuff. We're out here.
I feel out of the loop.
What do you mean? You're right in the loop.
I just feel like
Alright, so first attempt at chowder. There we are.
I can't even see the camera.
They can see you, I promise. Slide over.
This way.
I'm going true New England style.
You
With
got
some,
3 for yourself and not for anyone else?
it's right there. We're going saltine crackers because we don't have oyster crackers.
No crackers? I want you to just try it.
Okay.
I need your honest
First
reaction.
off, I have not tried it or taste tested at all. I've been gone, so I'm just coming home to this beautifully served bowl
For the first time.
for the first time.
Well, I meant like haven't tasted it for the first time. Right?
Oh,
Normally you taste everything as I'm cooking it.
true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know.
Whoa!
I have my comment ready.
Mmm. Mmm.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Was it broth or what is?
Yeah.
Yeah, the broth is like just perfect consistency of what you would like order in a restaurant or like I don't know how to explain that, like
pretty cool.
regular soup.
It is, and this is a compliment, not anything outside of a compliment. It tastes like Campbell's clam chowder, New England clam chowder soup.
Yeah.
And a lot of people might see that as like a demeaning thing, but I'm saying it as a compliment because if you can take real products and actually make them taste like processed food that's made for the masses, you have achieved. This is. You could fool someone into thinking that
It's
this was.
unbelievable. It's
Oh,
unbelievable.
so
Yeah.
good.
Thank you, Will.
Wow,
I'm
babe.
writing this one down.
You did so good.
So we have a little book. I'll actually show you.
Hmm.
We make a lot of stuff, and not all of it goes in the book. This is our book. This one's going in the book. So we write down some recipes. We have all. Obviously, they're all on video, but this one's going in the book. I just love soups. I've never done a white chowder.
Mm-hmm.
It's so good.
Well, since it's
It doesn't need salt or pepper.
Mm-mm.
Nothing.
Mm-mm.
yeah, and I'm usually the salt queen, where where I have to put salt in it.
No,
I don't
salt,
need it.
It's salted perfect.
It's perfect.
Yeah.
And yeah, the consistency of the broth is like
Will said it'll thicken a little as it
it's
goes, but
perfect.
it's
But it's like creamy, but not too heavy, or like you know what I mean.
And also,
Wow.
what's crazy is those pieces of grouper.
Yeah.
Let's not forget the 4-pound fish on the rib.
Everything in here is also cooked perfectly. So like the potatoes, they're not.
That's what I do.
Like you said, like. Well, like they're not like mush. You know how sometimes it's mush or it's like rock hard potatoes.
Mhm.
This is just a perfect soupy potato.
All right, now we're gonna watch our Rangers beat the
Yeah.
brakes off the Panthers.
Hockey starting. We actually already started. We gotta go.
I wish I had my book.
Appreciate you guys watching. A little different episode. I think this one's gonna be a lot more cooking than diving. Just a few clips of diving, but sometimes that's how it goes.
Also, like that you left the skins on the potatoes.
That's
I
what
gotta
I-
have the
yeah.
skins. I hate when they take the skins off.
I don't know. I
I don't know what it is. That's where all the nutrients are, right?
That little touch of smoked paprika
That's what they
too.
tell you.
Wow.
We'll see you on the next one.
Later. So
Well,
Let's wait for you to say it.
I know. Later.
I know what I'm eating for the next 5 days.
Yeah, and I just ate a whole thing of pasta too. And I'm
You
just
said that last time, and the whole bowl was gone by noon.